Story time about how this girl and her boyfriend beat me up. So a little background information, I was in 11th grade and I was 17 years old. And in the summer, my friend and I went to go and watch fireworks for the 4th of July at this park. And most of the people there went to a completely different school. But we ended up meeting this group of guys and I was really vibing with the one guy who was there. He was super cute, super chill, and we got along great. And I just want to put this out there, I did not think to ask that he had a girlfriend because he was being super flirtatious and just really wasn't acting like he had a girlfriend. I literally just hate how we have to ask people if they're in relationships now because they don't want to be honest or loyal. And then we would look like the bad guys because they were dishonest. Anyway, so him and I start to hang out a lot and he really likes me, I really like him. And we went to this football game at his school and we ended up doing the nasty. After that, I'm in the bleachers with my friends and one of my friends tells me, yeah, he has a girlfriend. So she couldn't have told me this before we did the nasty. Anyways, like for part 2. Part 2 about why you should stay away from a guy who has just gotten out of a long-term relationship. So like I said, him and I started dating, and the one day I came home with a hickey on my neck. I didn't sleep with him, but him and I were fooling around. But my mom went psychotic. She grounded me. I wasn't allowed to see or speak to Robert ever again. Which was stupid because I'm a 14-year-old girl who's in love with a boy. I'm definitely going to find a way to talk to him. So now this led to me thinking that he was going to get bored and not want to be with me anymore. So finally, 2 months later, my mom was letting up and she let me go out with my friend Lauren. But we ended up just going to Lauren's house so that way Robert could come and see me. And I think I forgot to mention a few red flags. All of my friends told me that Robert had an ex-girlfriend of 4 years that he was absolutely in love with. But that wasn't the worst one. He told me that he was never going to get over his ex and that he was always going to want to be with her. And then he asked me to be his girlfriend 2 days later. And we're going to call her Lucy. Well, I posted a few TikToks and Lucy's best friend Ellie commented on my TikToks, like for part 3. Story time. I'm in a long distance relationship with this boy and I don't know if I should break up with him or not. So like I said, he says he always thinks about unaliving himself, so obviously I feel bad for him and I just love him so much that I can't let him go, and he has a bunch of other red flags. Like he'll tell people he's 13 and other people he's 14, and he apparently didn't know his birthday. Well, fast forward, he's been texting me more, and when I told him I loved him, he left me on open, which he never does. He always says it back to me. We still haven't really been talking on the phone, but I did send him pictures. Not fully nude, but both times I sent those, he literally called me right after. But other than that, he will never call me. Story time. I'm in a long distance relationship and I don't know if I should break up with this boy or not. So a little background information, him and I were best friends for almost a month before we started dating. And literally as soon as we started dating, he started asking me for nudes. And I would be like, no, not tonight, I'm tired. And then he would keep asking me why. And then he would start to make me feel guilty about not wanting to send him nudes. Eventually he would just say, it's fine, I'll just wait until we can do physical things together. And he still has, quote, his hoes on Snapchat. And he still has all of their nudes and everything. And literally the day before we started dating, he told me that he liked this one girl. And he'll always hang up the phone to talk to her instead of me. And then when I bring it up, he tries to say that So obviously I try and bring this up to him. And he tries to make me feel bad by saying that he thinks about unaliving himself. He also has a few other red flags, like for part 2. Part 2 about how my sister sold my nudes. So like I said, my sister had this friend, and the one night they were talking about how funny it would be to sell somebody's pics. We all laughed, joked about it, the conversation was over and done with. I thought that was it. Like, in all honesty, I thought it was one of those things where you guys make plans to do something, and then after the conversation, you never talk about it again, and you never actually do what you said you were going to do because it was so out of pocket. So my sister's friend slept over that night, and I woke up, went to school earlier because I have volunteer work to do, so my sister usually just takes the bus. Well, I accidentally left my computer at school, so I called my sister, asked her if she could grab it and bring it into school. Now, my computer is connected to my phone. Well, I guess they decided to be little creeps, and they went on my computer and they found my pictures, and they sent them to themselves. And since my phone and computer are hooked up, I was able to see that they sent the pictures to themselves. So I started blowing up her phone, but by first period, I had a bunch of people telling me that they were about to buy my pictures. My sister literally made an ad and put it on Snapchat. My boyfriend broke up. Story time about why I will never go Black Friday shopping ever again. So a little background information, I was 13 and in 8th grade. And my best friends and I were super excited because we'd never been Black Friday shopping before. So we had a plan that all of us would spend the night at my house and my mom would drive us to the mall at 4 in the morning. So fast forward, it's 4 in the morning and my friends and I are ready to go to the mall, and my mom came with us, but we didn't stay with her the whole time. So as we were walking to the first store, we realized that there were these 3 guys behind us that have kind of been following us around since we got into the mall. But we just think it's a coincidence because, you know, it's Black Friday, the mall is packed. There are obviously going to be people going the same exact way as us. So we go into the first store, we get what we want to get, and the men didn't follow us in there. But as we're making our way to the next store, we realized that they're following us again. It was like they waited outside the first store for us to come out. So then we decided that we were going to walk around one of the kiosks a few times to see if they were really following us. And of course they were, so we went into another store and they didn't follow us in that one either. So I go up to one of the workers and I asked if they could possibly call security or something, because there are these guys following us, and she said, yeah, for part 2. Part 3 about why I will never ever go Black Friday shopping ever again. So like I said, we got out of line and we went straight to the store that my mom was at, and she was like, okay, just let me get these few things and then we can leave. So we start walking towards the exit, and then I'm like, Mom, they're still following us. So she turns around and she realizes they're literally standing 2 feet behind us. So we decided to go into one of the stores and we asked one of the employees if they could also call the head of security. And whenever head of security got there, she literally tore them a new you-know-what. After that, my mom tries to go and point out the guys, and they're not standing there anymore. So they're like, well, what do you want us to do? And then my mom's like, well, you can walk us out to our car. So they walk us out to our car, and then they stand there while we're getting in. My mom starts the car and she starts backing up, and we literally run over something. And all of a sudden we hear screaming and moaning, and the security guards look under the car, and literally one of the guys who was following us is literally laying under our cars with a knife. And as soon as that happened, there was literally a van parked right across from our car. The van drove away really fast, but the police ended up catching up to it, and they found 8 girls in that van. Part 2 about how my crazy ass cousin broke up my family. So like I said, my cousin Brandy talked Taylor into leaving her boyfriend and her 3 kids for her. Meanwhile, Brandy didn't even leave her wife, and she was planning on buying a house and adopting 2 out of the 3 kids that they have. But Taylor was low-key manipulated and low-key ignored every single red flag. So she did just that. She literally broke up her family for Brandy. And to this day, Brandy is still with her wife. And you would have thought that Taylor would have been like, okay, fuck this. But no, actually, instead, Taylor and Brandy decided that they were going to say that Taylor's boyfriend beat them both so he could get sent to jail and they could still do the nasty on the low. And then Brandy twisted the whole situation of what actually went on to make my family cut me, my brother, and my sister-in-law all off. So that way she didn't seem like the bad guy. And now I'm not allowed to see Brandy's daughter, who I'm really close with. She literally will track her location, and if she's even near my house, she'll be grounded. So Storytime about why you should stay away from guys who just got out of a long-term relationship. So a little background information. I was 14 and I was in high school. And I had just moved from a normal high school to a special education unit where there was only about 60 to 90 kids. And I met this guy named Robert, and he was supposedly the most popular guy in school. He was a grade above me, and he was super hot. He definitely had a reputation with the girls, and his body count was higher than his age. Well, I have a single stay-at-home mom, and her and I haven't had the best relationship, and she's kind of strict, but also kind of not. For example, sis will let me get my belly button and my tongue pierced, but will not let me hang out with boys. Does that make sense? Absolutely not, but here we are. Well, somehow Robert and I started talking, and then we started dating, and everything was going super good. I was seeing him every day, spending every single hour that I possibly could with him, until I came home one day with a hickey on my neck, for part 2. Part 2 about how this guy and his girlfriend literally beat me up. So like I said, him and I did the nasty at the football game, and then I go onto the bleachers with my friends, and she tells me that he has a girlfriend. But I'm not gonna lie, at this point, we had already been talking for 2 months, and I really didn't care because I liked him and I wasn't just gonna turn my feelings off. First of all, I do not owe that girl any loyalty. Number 2, we were already intimate with each other, so I don't know what could make this situation worse than it already was. I mean, I did confront him about it, and he told me that he was gonna break up with her for me. So I believed him. I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna wait for him to break it off with her, and I'm still gonna talk to him. So eventually, he literally made me wait for 2 more months. So what did I do? I told his girlfriend everything. I'm not gonna lie, it's not even that I wanted to be a good person. It was literally just to spite him. It's like, yeah, your man wants to be with me. He don't want you. This is the text messages of him telling me that he was gonna break up with you. That day, he called me, and he was like, hey, do you want to hang out? And I was shook that he did not bring up anything that I said to his girlfriend. For part 3. Storytime about how my crazy ass cousin broke up my family. So a little background information. My cousin Brandy has been married to her wife for about 16 years. and they both have 3 kids together, and I live with my brother and sister-in-law, Nora. Both of our families were super close. They were always coming over to our house, vice versa. Now, this is where you gotta keep up. My cousin Brandy started cheating on her wife with Nora's sister, Taylor. And that meant that Taylor was cheating on her boyfriend, and they had 3 kids together also. And this all started happening the night of my nephew's birthday party. They literally did the nasty that day and then showed up at different times to play it off like they weren't doing anything. And nobody really found out about any of this until Thanksgiving of last year, but the drama is still going on till this day, and it only gets worse. My cousin Brandy convinced Taylor to break it off with her boyfriend and completely leave her 3 children for her. Meanwhile, Brandy is still with her wife. Like for part 2. Part 2 about why I will never go Black Friday shopping ever again. So like I said, my friends and I go into the one store, and of course they don't follow us in there, so we ask an employee if they can call security. So whenever security got there, I told them that these guys have been following us around since we got into the mall. And then security's like, well, where's your mother? Acting like it was our fault that we could be kidnapped for not being with my mom. So after that, he's like, all right, just go find your mom, I'll talk to them. So I call my mom and I'm like, hey, where are you? Of course, she's on the whole other side of the mall. So my friends and I are going to meet her on the other side of the mall, and we look back to see if the security guard was talking to them, and literally the security guard just walked out of the store and went the complete opposite way. Then we walk up to the security guard and we're like, you didn't even talk to him. And then he turns around, rolls his eyes, goes over and starts talking to these guys. And then we continue to the store that my mom was at whenever we decided to stop at Starbucks to get something to drink. So after 10 minutes of waiting in line, we turn around and we see these guys standing at the end of the line just staring at us. So we get out of line and we decided to just go straight to the store that my mom was at. And when we got there, we told her what was going on. So she was like, okay, let me get these few things and then we can leave. Like for part 3. Part 3 about why you should stay away from guys who had just gotten out of a long-term relationship. Like I said, I posted some TikToks of Robert and I, and Lucy's best friend Ellie decided to comment. Ellie commented something along the lines of, look at Robert finally getting some attention. And Lucy, which is his ex-girlfriend, commented, he can finally leave me alone now. So I screenshotted it and I showed it to Robert, and he was like, oh, just forget about it. It was nothing. Block them. But instead of that, I decided to be petty and I posted another TikTok saying, look at Robert finally getting some attention. 5 minutes later, Ellie Snapchatted me and she was like, I don't know why you're doing that. Like, I just commented that because he was literally just texting Lucy on Christmas, saying that he misses her and he would do anything to get back together with her. So I screenshot it and I show it to Robert, and he doesn't say anything. He literally just straight up ignores me. So obviously we broke up. He got a new girlfriend and she would literally call me every name under the sun. So I gave her a little reminder that he is never going to get over Lucy. And I started dating Robert's best friend, and he is so loyal and I love him so much. Storytime. Karma didn't do its job fast enough, so I had to take matters into my own hands. So a little background information, my best friend Ellie had just passed away in a car crash, and for some reason these 2 girls, Jackie and Jayla, decided that they were going to talk shit on her all the time for no reason. Like, they had some weird, unhealthy obsession with her for no reason. Like, the one time they literally put me in a group chat just so that way I could see them talking shit about her. So I told my best friends Christy and Megan about it, and we decided to come up with a plan to jump them. So in the morning and after school, Jayla and Jackie would walk by my house to get to theirs. So obviously we weren't going to do it in the morning because nobody had the energy for that. But we got baseball bats and everything else, and we did end up using them. Like, we ran up on them after school and we started to beat the shit out of them. I don't want this video to get taken down, so use your imagination because it was pretty bad. And both of them ended up in the ER. One girl was in a coma for the week and the other one had a broken collarbone. They ended up pressing charges, but my thing is, this is a girl who can't defend herself, so I would have done it anyway. Storytime about how my sister sold my nudes. Yes, my own sister. So a little background information, I was in 12th grade and I was pretty popular. And my sister, on the other hand, she was in 9th grade. I'm not even saying this to boost my ego, but she was jealous of me and everybody could tell. Mainly because of the fact that she didn't have her high school glow up, she low-key still looked like a 6th grader. And there were very few guys who gave her attention, and some of the guys would even tell her that I was hotter than her. So that did not help the situation at all. Not like I even paid attention to any of these guys because I had a boyfriend. And my sister and I still shared a room even though our brothers got their own rooms. So she could literally go through my shit anytime she wanted. Well, since we shared a room and I'd never thought that she would sell my nudes, sometimes I would take these exposing pictures of myself while she was in the room. Well, she had this one friend named Jessica who also was weirdly obsessed with me. One night she was saying how funny it would be to sell someone's nudes, like